This episode of the Better Every Shift podcast is sponsored by the Fire Store. Learn more about getting the gear you need at prices you can afford by visiting thefirestore.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Better Every Shift podcast. My name is Aaron Zamzow. I'm a firefighter in Madison, Wisconsin, and your host, along with editor-in-chief of Fire Rescue One, the captain of really the show, and she's the one who holds this whole thing together, Janelle Fasquette. Janelle, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Aaron?
I'm great. The show today is a big treat because we get to talk to the IAFC's Volunteer Fire Chief of the Year, and he's with us today. He's Chief from Greensburg Volunteer Fire Department. Is Chief Thomas Bell, and we're going to really dig into his, I guess, not necessarily the award itself, but the process and a little bit about him and what he's doing with that department up there and how he's really turned it around. So, Chief, as I'm talking about you, I should just say welcome and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the offer, and I'm glad to be here today, and pleasure to talk about whatever you want to talk about today, no doubt.
We'll dig right into it, but first I got to mention that we got to get you a sign or something for your backdrop. So those that are just listening to the podcast, I'm just going to describe, and I think this is something about why he's so successful. It's very plain, very basic in his background, and I'm saying right now, I'm going to try to get you something for that trophy case that you need. You need a trophy case back there because this is a great accomplishment. Again, you're the IAFC's Volunteer Fire Chief of the Year. You presented this at FRI. You've been intricate member of the Greensburg Fire Department for well over 30 years, and You've now been chief there for almost 8. What was it like when they told you that you were the chief of the year, volunteer chief of the year?
Well, very humbling, first of all. There's a story behind it all, and there's a story behind everything. The biggest one, when I was, we had our department banquet back in May, and I wound up in the hospital the day before the banquet, and so I was in the hospital, and one of my chiefs came in to see me to make sure everything was okay. I was okay. They thought that I had a bowel blockage, and it wasn't a bowel blockage, but it didn't happen to be that. So, anyways, so he came into me and he handed me an envelope, and I was laying there in the bed and just feeling kind of crappy and everything. And I opened this up, and it was actually the application process, or the application that he had already forwarded to the IAFC. And I sat there, and my wife was sitting with me, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe, they would do something like this. I was kind of like blown away. I was kind of like humbled, and then I was like really PO'd about it because I thought, why are you doing this? I'm going to be the last person that would be thought about for an award like this from little dinky Greensburg to Berg of Green to pitcher scene, worried about, they're going to pick Chief Tom Bell from Greensburg, So, of course, after I got out of the hospital, and they didn't even save me a piece of cake, by the way, just so you know that. After I got out of the hospital, I called him up and I said, what are you doing? Hey, do you know what the chances are? Oh, well, you deserve it. Our mayor and the other, my administrative person that we have here in the fire department, they all wrote letters and everything. And I thanked them all, and I said, well, don't get your hopes up. July, can't exact date, it was in July. Get this phone call. I'm actually sitting right where I'm sitting now. The phone rings. Sometimes I can't get out of my building because it's a metal building. So I go outside into the parking lot, and this gentleman comes on and says, hi, Chief Bell, or is this Chief Thomas Bell of the Greensburg Volunteer Fire Department? Well, yes, it is. And at first I thought to myself, do I really want to answer this? Because usually you'd say, is this the chief of the fire department? And yes, it is. Well, I want to tell you something. And I'm like, so anyways, I thought, okay, he wasn't really wound up or anything. So I said, yes, it is. He says, hi, I'm Chief. I can't remember his name, of course. And I'm from the IAFC, and I just wanted to call you to congratulate you. You've been chosen for the IAFC Volunteer Fire Chief of the Year. Long pause. I said, come on, I'm not in the mood for this today. And said, no, seriously, you've been chosen by all the applicants that have been put in. Your applicant was the one that was chosen and everything. And then another long pause. And okay, but I was just lost for words. So the biggest thing is after we talked and he says, I know I go through this with all of them because it's an honor. And, you think that, okay, so it's a little award, and I really didn't know what I was getting into. After, okay, and the first person I called, of course, my wife after I hung up, and I was a little emotional about it because it was something that I never, ever, ever in my life would have dreamed about that I would have got. And a lot of things that go through my mind. I spent many years with the ex-chief, that retired. And, there was always things that he was never be humble about your things, things, always make sure that, you do what you need to do. The awards don't mean anything. You're here to do a job. He was he's a hard-nosed guy. I mean, he didn't praise what he did. No, he didn't want any praise. And anybody would have done that to him like that. Oh, he would have never taken. Like, get out of here! You submit something like that, I'll, take it and stick it where the sun don't shine and all that. But all those thoughts went through my mind that day, and it's just really an honor. And today, I mean, I'm still just blown away by it.
Well, it's the reason they gave it to you is because honestly, you earned it, and just doing some background on you and talking to people that have made contact with you. We listened to your speech at FRI. Some of your accomplishments are highlighted with firefighter training, continuous improvement. You really got your numbers and the involvement back in your community and your crews. Junior firefighter program, duty crews. For you, when you look back at this journey, give us some insight. Where did this whole thing start? Where was it when you took over? How was the department?
We, as a department, was just moving along. We were in that car that was held by, crooked wheels and the squeaky bearings and everything that was going on. And believe me, he took a department that was absolutely nothing and created many firsts in the area for the fire department. Rescues, dive team, bloodhounds. He done it all. He did more for the Greensburg Fire Department and the community of Greensburg than anybody, more than I will ever accomplish in the short few years that I will have. You're talking about a man that was a legend here that was 63 years as fire chief. 63. Wow. He was 94 when he retired. Okay. And, it was just amazing. And the best thing about it is he told us before, he said, look, as he got older, he said, I might not be able to leap over buildings anymore, but I can sure run through them. And that's just the way he was. You may have heard in my speech out there that, I talked about that he was a Marine. He was a drill sergeant in the Marines. And that's the way he did things here in our fire department, But he just the way he was. But, to sit there and think I'll take you back to 2016 at the time, our department was, just like I said, just rolling along, apropos for 10 years, we just kept doing the same thing. We were trying things, but we weren't pushing things, I would come up, let's do a little bit of advertisement. So we'd try it one time, it wouldn't work. So we'd forget about it. Well, let's do adopt a hydrant program. Well, him and I went round and round about the adopt a hydrant program. We don't own the hydrants. I said, well, it's better to get the community involved. We don't need the community, So there was ideas that were already spinning my head at the time, and knowing that he was going to retire soon. But I said that when in 1986, the first
right.
Don't worry about it. He'll be retired soon. You don't have to worry about it. That was in 86, and come 2015, he's still here as fire chief. So it didn't happen back in 86. He was still there. But anyway, God love him. I mean, he was a great person, and for the last couple of years, I was so glad that I was basically in his back pocket all the time. He'd pull me in the truck at fires and say, "Now listen to the," etc. Because couldn't get out of the truck and move around much. But so in our department, and I thought to myself, right then and there, I started thinking about it. And then 2016, it was an October day. I pulled in front of my house and I got this phone call. Many phone calls. I looked at the number and it was, his name was John Edward Hutchison. They called him Hutch.
Yep.
So my phone, I had Hutch. So when I'd see it, I'd answer the phone and say, "Yes, Hutch. What do you need?" And a stern voice said, "Listen to me. I'm done. You need to get your paperwork filed at City Hall. I'm finished. That's it. Talk to Dawn and take care of things." Bang. That was it. I'm like, what? Did I just hear this right? I couldn't believe it. I sat in my car there for a little bit. So then I called Donna, which was our city administrator secretary, where we have to, in the city of Greensburg, file paperwork if we want to become chief. We have to live in the city, own property in the city, of course, be a fireman in the city of Greensburg, of course. And I called her and she says, she was just like totally shocked. She says, "Oh my God, Tommy, yes, I couldn't believe it either." And I was just blown away. So that's where it started. Within October, and we had the council meeting in November, and usually, the term runs till December 31st, and then the new chief takes over January 1st. Nope. It was that council meeting when I got sworn in that he's done. He retired. They had a radio sign off of him and everything, and that's where it all began. So at the same time as when he had told me this, the very next day, I drummed up the second in command for me. His name's Rick Hoyle. We call him C2. And then my administrator, which I C4, and the other one is C3. He's in charge of our Red X program. We got together and we started having meetings like almost immediately every day and started putting things together. I wanted to hit the ground running. I said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to revamp things. We're going to change the way we look at fires. We're going to come up with we're going to come up with some people that are going to I want people to be in charge of different things. Safety. That was the number one thing that I swore that I was going to do, is firefighter safety on the fireground. We had too much freelancing going on. You know how it is in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
When you get somebody comes in from here, somebody comes in from here. And the other thing was to revamp our whole program, because he was like, let's have the Army. We want to bring as much and everything as possible. If we don't need them, we'll turn them around and go around. But when we got there, you had 7, 8, 10, 12 companies bringing 10, 15 firefighters in, and you just look around and there's helmets everywhere, and you think, accountability. There's no accountability. What are you going to do? Somebody goes behind the building, side of the building. So that was another thing, was accountability. So that's where it all started. And when I took the oath of office that November, the very next day we started going down and I actually had a crew picked already, and everybody's like, "When did you have time to do this?" I said, a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, right. Since 1986, you've had this list going. Yeah. So it's 30 or 20 some years of it,
Well, that is quite a promotion too, to get that phone call in that way.
Yeah. And the other thing was, I had to be elected yet. And when he called me, I wasn't elected. We had to have an election.
Mm-hmm.
When he announced that retirement, so I had to put my name in, and of course I was the only one to put my name in, but still I had to be elected by the members of the Greensburg Volunteer Fire Department. So it took a Saturday. They voted right before the council meeting, which was Monday. So that's how it happened.
Well, I think that's one of the really fascinating things about your story is, you had someone who was in this position for so long, who's a legend. What's your advice to other chiefs who might be a little bit nervous about taking over the reins for someone who's either been in a position a really long time or just has a stellar reputation, and you're coming in like these are big shoes to fill? What's that thought process like, and what advice do you have for folks who are like, okay, I got to take over the reins now and keep this buy-in from this group of folks?
Well, it's very simple. The thing of it, if I could tell anybody that would walk in my office today and say, "I'm going to sit here and I'm taking over for," we'll just say, me look at it, say, "I'm taking over for Ed Hutchison," the first thing I would tell anybody is, do not try to pretend you are someone that you are not, okay? There will never be a man like John Edward Hutchison. he has done so much for this community. And if I had a nickel for every time that somebody said, how are you going to fill those shoes? I said, very easily. I'm not. I'm going to have a bigger size shoe, and it's going to have the Tom Bell print on it, not John Edward Hutchison. There's no way that I could ever fulfill his shoes, and I would never try. You can't sit here and mimic something that somebody has done for 63 years. There's so many things. There's things that I don't even know that he did. I just know what I learned and what I've come across in my tenure with him. There's just no way that you can do that. And the biggest thing is, just like I said, is, you create your own. And that's what I've done. I feel that now that, I hit the ground running once I took over, and I had a lot of ideas. I mean, and that's no bull crap that many sleepless nights, I've talked to my wife, you look terrible, just thinking, I'm becoming fire chief, do you know what that means? That means I have a person of 300 here in the city of Greensburg, in the fire department. Not all, come out for fires, but still, I got 300 members. That's what I got to think about. When I go to a fire scene, I have 60, 70 guys that I have to worry about and make sure that they're going to go home. That's the big thing. And, it's a funny story is we get to one of our high-rise buildings here, and the elevator's out. And they're having issues with the elevator. The owner doesn't want to fix the elevator. So I go to the location with our code officer, and we're sitting there and we're talking to the superintendent, and people are coming in and out of the building, and first thing, a lady stops me and looks straight at me and says, you're the fire chief, aren't you? I said, yes, I'm the fire chief. She said, if Ed Hutchison was here, we'd have that elevator fixed.
Oh, geez.
Well, I don't have his magical powers. I can't fix that elevator, but we're sure going to try, and I'm sure we're going to get something resolved. And we did. It took a little while, Elevators are just not, you go to Walmart, pick up an elevator and put it in,
Yeah.
There's, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to install a new elevator. So it takes a little bit of time, and they had one elevator operating, but that was the thing is, you were at Hutchison. Yeah, I know. 2 years, honest to God, and I'm not lying, 2 years. I had to live under that umbrella of everybody telling me. We go to some of our meetings, some of our older members. Well, Eddie never did that. Why do you want to change that? Eddie didn't have that. That worked so good for 50 years. It's not the way we used to do it. Oh, pull my hair out.
Yep.
Heard that 2 years until we finally just actually was able to say, okay, now we're starting to move along. But honestly, it took 2 years. But the advice is don't ever try to mimic somebody that has been in this job for a long time. Just create your own destiny. Do what you do, and do what you think's best. And here I am.
Great advice.
Chief, when you first started, what was the makeup? How many members did you have? And, where were you eight years ago, and where are you today? What's your membership? How is your recruitment? You talked about accountability, and you guys had a plan in place. Where were you then? Where are you now in terms of responses and that accountability?
Well, where we were at in 2016, we were just at a point where we were getting nothing. I mean, absolutely the big zero. One member here, one member there in 15, here and there. And when we took over, and the biggest thing was to try to promote. And I'm not going to lie, we had a grant, which was a safer grant that we had got on board with our local township company that's right around us, Hempfield Township. They got a $4.5 million safer grant, which was the biggest ever handed out. And there was all their community things and everything. And that helped us in recruiting some people. And we took in, I think it was like 22 members within those couple of years, 2016, 2017. We took in that many members, brand new members that, we offered bunker suits. We got into, stipends and everything that part of that grant. But we going out, our advertisement went from here to, way up here, where we were trying little things and it wasn't working. So we quit. But I told the guys that I put, Rick Steele, our president, I said, look, we just got to get out there and we got to get moving. We got to keep things going. And he was phenomenal in things. We created signs. We put signs in every fire hall, banners. We have down at our Lynchfield area on the fence posts, we've had this banner that says, join the Greensburg Volunteer Fire Department. We were starting to get recognition. We were doing things in the community to start getting us out there. And then I think what happened was the people that were starting to see us out in the community started seeing the signs and everything, just got a little curious and started, I'd get a call. Hey, what do I got to do to join? Well, it's easy. We're going to put this online. So we got established a very nice website, gfd.org on there, and went to that, or it's Greensburg Fire, I'm sorry, .org. Got on there and said, hey, look, just go to the website, fill out application, and it just started happening, And then,
gbgfire.com.
yes, that's what it is, gbgfire.com.
And I was just something I was going to kind of piggyback on it. It's a great website. And I think, that's one of the things you're saying is we kind of upgraded that a little bit, made it easier for our members to join. And then talk about the Fire Bell, your newsletter a little bit too. Didn't want to cut you off there, but I see this, and what a great way to really kind of build camaraderie and get communication out.
Yeah, that was the other thing. And we encouraged every single fireman that if they wanted to put something in that, make sure they got it before the deadline. My administrator, Lou Battistella, he writes that Fire Bell all by himself. He does it all. He gets all the information. Lou does that's a whole nother podcast, Lou Battistella, believe me, with my administrator. He is just my right arm. I don't have him, I'm not here. There's no doubt about it. I could have never done what I've done without that man. He's a great friend. There's no doubt about it. I love him like my dad. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's a great friend, and he's done so much. But anyways, that Fire Bell was something that they tried a couple of times to do a membership letter out to everybody. I can remember a cousin of mine, which is another one of my assistant chiefs. He used to come to the officers meetings that he used to have, and he'd write down some things that go on and would put out this little 2-page letter and everything. And we started out this one, a couple of pages. I don't know, some of them are like 56 pages long, the Fire Bell. If you look through that, you go on and on and on and on, and you're like, holy crap, And there's a lot of information in there, and there's a lot of repeat things, but I try to give a message every quarter, from the chief. And but we just got that to more or less put out there what the Greensburg Fire Department is doing. We put it on Facebook, so you can pick up a copy of it from our website. People come and look at the website, look at that, really information. And I think it's another tool that, people look at that and say, oh, look what the Greensburg Fire Department does. We have our cancer awareness shirts that we sell, and we try to do, and we give $2,000 to some of the other people out there because we go after grants too. And I think those organizations like to see that we just don't take everybody's money and spend it and say, hey, just keep give. We give a lot back to the community. There's no doubt about it. Just got a call today about our Halloween parade. We're going to wind up doing probably hot dogs and stuff for the kids for the Halloween parade, and sponsored by the Greensburg Fire Department. But that paper was something that I think that gets out there and the general public can actually read and knows what's going on in the Greensburg Fire Department.
It looks like it's not only for the public, it almost like you're also informing your members on current issues, right? So there's things in there about, you mentioned off camera about, the cancer initiative you guys are really pushing, and, get your gear clean, and here's the stations that need to do that. And this is why. And I think that's a twofold thing. And I got to compliment you on that, because a lot of times, we think, oh, well, this is a message for our community. This is a message for our members. But why doesn't our community, we can let them in so they can understand the challenges that we're having. Right. And this edition that I'm looking at is like 30 pages. But it's got great messages in it. And it's something that, like I'm sure all your firefighters want to read because it's got up and coming stuff, and also for your community. So the bell is all about communication, right? I mean, obviously it's your last name too. So it's really kind of a fitting thing. That's where I thought it came from. But what other things did you implement to really improve the communication?
Again, that was the first thing. And the biggest thing was our chief, Ed, or Hutch, what I call him, used to have what they called a officers meeting. So the first thing I thought, I want to make sure that One, I get a message across to everybody, and I want it in a timely fashion. I don't want to wait, 6 months or wait till I see somebody at a fire scene. So what we did was I established what we called a department meeting. Okay, so it's not for the officers, it's not for the chiefs, it's not for the neighbors, it's for every single person in the Greensburg Volunteer Fire Department. And the first day that I had the the department meeting, we keep calling it the officers meeting.
Hard. It's habits, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't an officers meeting; it was the chief meeting. That's what it was, because the chief would speak for a half an hour and then play a film. He called it a film, not a film, but a film. That's what we watched every time, using water wisely. The great Chicago fire, things like that. But so that was the other source of communication. I wanted to have this meeting so everybody could come and talk. Now I stand up there for about 20 minutes. I try to leave myself 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour, depends on what I have to say. And then we go around the room, and I have all the chiefs talk, and I have all the captains talk. And at the end, I ask everybody in the room, does there anyone else that would like to address the body with anything? I didn't care if you wanted to tell me how you bought a new dog, or, just to talk to people, or saying, hey, I didn't like the way you hit the hydrant, or we dressed the hydrant anymore, or, why do we have to lay 5-inch? We are always used to lay 3-inch. Questions like that, things like that, so we can talk about it. And I think that was a big, so we get close to probably 50, 60 guys at a meeting every month, to that meeting. And that was huge. Before, we used to get 10, 15 to the officers meeting. Now we're getting, close to, sometimes we have 50, sometimes we have 40, sometimes we have 60. It all depends, but that's how we get the information out there in communications for our department, other than the fire bell.
I think that's great that's how one of the avenues you took to improve communication. I'm sure in that process, there's underpinning everything is this idea of culture change, right? That seems to be a big theme in what we're talking about here.
Right.
Like, how did you prioritize what you wanted to change with the department, and how did you communicate either, outwardly or subconsciously that things are going to change now here?
Well, like I said, when I first took over, it was a lot of sleepless nights, and I said, I'm going to change this department if it kills me. And sometimes I thought it was going, or I was going to kill somebody. But it was very tough. Believe me, it was very, very tough to change that's not the way we used to do it. I mean, I got that so many times. It's just as bad as, then how am I going to feel Hutch's shoes, But trying to change that was probably the toughest thing that I could do. Every time that I did something different, there was resistance, and you're always going to have resistance when you want to change, because people are tough to change, especially I don't like to say older people, but the guys that have been around are the toughest to change. The young guys were very easy. They're very receptive on what I was doing, just sole purpose. When we get to a fireground, when incident command, we had no incident command. We had chief command. That was Hutch. Car 100 command. That was it. No one else. He called the shots. He made the decisions. When it was time to vacate the building, it was him. He didn't want to hear it from anything else. And it worked. It worked very well. Don't get me wrong. It's not like something that I look at and say, oh, well, I wanted more involvement from the people that were out there. I told everybody straight off the first meeting, I can't do this on my own. I need you people to help. So that was a huge change of actually letting other people have a little bit of responsibilities. When we pull on scene of fire, the first thing I do is take my chiefs and cover each section of the building. I got left, right, back, front, A, B, C, D. Everybody's covered. I got somebody that's in charge on the ladder, tower, whatever we have up. Somebody that's on the ground that's charged. I have somebody that's standing outside with a tick gun, see where the heat is, making sure. And when we make decisions, not Chief Bell makes the decision. We make decisions. When we feel that it's time, or we're looking at it and we are not making progress, I mean, when I look at it and say, hey, you know what? It's time, because first of all, when a fire gets to the point, or the building's to the point where it's gone too far, and you know that it's coming down anyways, why risk anymore? Pull everybody out, go into defensive operations, and you don't get anybody hurt. That was our biggest thing there. And after they started to see that basically I was making sure, being responsible, making sure that everyone goes home, the change started to happen. Things started to really progress. Everything that I was saying, as far as bunker gear, that was another thing, is everybody wearing bunker. We were a department where it was okay to go into a burning building with a mask on, a fire jacket and a helmet and a pair of jeans, or had Carhartts. That was okay in the Greensburg Fire Department, honestly. That was another change that we had to do. Strictly, hey guys, no, we can't do that. Going to a car fire in this shirt, a ball cap, and a hose line, going right up on a fully involved car, and you're trying to douse it out. That was okay in the Greensburg Fire Department. That was another huge change we had to do. And it was tough to get everybody to come off the truck. What my idea was, prepared to go to work all the time. And, I pushed that, and I could tell you a little story real quick. Making the change and everything, I made a boo-boo. It was late at night, 11 o'clock. We got a call for an automatic fire alarm in one of our high-rise buildings. So I mosey on up to the high-rise building. We've been there 100 times. We've been there with some lady on the 11th floor, smoking a cigarette because she wanted to step outside of her apartment. She didn't want to make her apartment smokes in the hallway. Anyways, so I get there, first one there by myself. Nobody's at the door. I'm thinking, it's routine false alarm. I go in, hit the button, go up, get the elevator key, go in the elevator, turn the elevator key, go up. I'm fully decked out, helmet, gloves, everything. No SCBA. Going up. Get to the floor, it stops, hold the key, press the button, the door opens, smoke almost to the top of the smoke just banked down about the middle center of the floor. And I'm like, oh crap, now what do? Thought goes through my head, somebody's got to be on this floor. I step out of the elevator, take the key with me. Goodbye, elevator. Oof. 9 floors. I go in. The whole hallway's charged. Now, there's a lobby with a fire door. The fire door's closed. So I go that way, open the fire door. It's already to the floor. So I could see the light and I could see some people. And then from the other end, somebody comes in the doorway. It's the maintenance guy. So I get down to the end of the hall where the smoke is a little less, now knowing that the fire's behind me. Him and I go back, and he goes to the door. I said, fill that door before you touch it. Don't turn that door. He just opens the door, and everything just pushes. We get pushed back into the wall there, and I said, close the door, close the door, close the door. So he shuts the door, and we had a good apartment fire going. So I sent him to get the rest of the people out of the hallway while I went back and got the hose line from the hose cabinet, got it stretched out to the door, went back, fired up the turned the valve onto the hose, got the water there. By this time, 2 firemen come up 9 floors, fully decked out, masks on and everything. And we open the door, go in. They douse the fire. There's a gentleman laying at the base of the chair where the fire was and everything. They pull him out, save his life, survives and everything. The next meeting we had, I stood in front of everybody and I said, gentlemen, just want to let you know, I screwed up. I tell you guys to every day, prepare to go to work. I wasn't prepared to go to work. I almost got 2 people killed. So that's some of the change. And that was the one thing that I swear to God that I would never do, is let something happen to somebody like that. And we just get complacent. And complacency got me. And I admit that to everybody, and I admit it to my whole team. And just said, guys, I screwed up. And I did. And it could have cost somebody their lives, not only mine, but the 2 people that were there, the victim inside and the maintenance guy. So we live and we learn, but our change, that's how things started to change and things started to roll a little bit better. We live and we learn.
The Fire Store, equipping protectors with passion. Every decision we make as a company is about you, our customer. We wouldn't be where we are today without you, and we don't take that lightly. We understand that having the right gear can mean the difference between life and death. Our goal is to get you the gear you need, when you need it, at prices you can afford. Visit us at thefirestore.com for everything but the truck, and shop our family of brands, including Streamlight, MSA, Lion, Fleer, and more. Now let's get back to the show.
You're leading by example, though, which I think is the key there. You're showing your members that it's okay to admit mistakes, to talk about review. It's okay. I mean, one of the things that we talked about at FRI was improved and honest after action reviews. That's a huge piece of this, talking about all the cultural change. You've got safety, which you mentioned before, health, incident command, after action reviews. I'm just curious, did you prioritize them, or did you just try and chip away at all of them a little bit at a time?
Yeah, I have another chief. I keep mentioning about these chiefs. I have 9 of them actually. But another chief his biggest thing was always preaching to me about these core values, to try to change things. And he said to me, look, we have to take one step at a time. A little bit here, a little bit there, take a little chunk, a little piece of cheese over here, a little piece of cheese over here, and just keep doing what you can do, and that's what we did. The first step I wanted was, get some control on the fireground, because that's where the safety starts, with making positioning ladders and things, and getting a routine where we didn't have a routine. It was, wet stuff on the red stuff, hurry up, get it in there, go, 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 go. One guy was making the decisions for everybody. And then you get the couple in the back saying, let's do this. Let's open a window here. And what we happen, we start opening windows everywhere, creating pathways, and sometimes you lose a building doing stuff like that. So basically, we want to make sure that, we have control of that. So that's what was the biggest, I want to say, is the first thing was fireground safety and control of the fireground operations. And then, making sure that we have some type of leadership, whether it be my leading it, one of the assistant chiefs, but that was the biggest thing, is basically have an incident command where we had some type of leadership so we don't get people hurt. And I'm telling you, for the last, as my tenure, we've been really good. It just keeps improving day after day, and prioritizing things. We just kept chipping away. Everything that you mentioned, we took it a little bit at a time, And the other thing was, my goal in my mind was taking care of our bunker equipment. And well, I know it don't get any cheaper. That stuff does not. It just keeps going, escalating. Waiting in a year now from some manufacturers to get some. And what was nice about, we were getting grants, and I was buying, trying to get suits for 2 suits per man, and we've accomplished that now. The biggest thing was, another one was the laundering program. That was another feat. Me and one of the guys on one of our boards really had a argument about it from the get-go, because he was one of those ones, of course, that it's not the way we did things. I wanted to do something where, a fireman and anybody, is to have somebody go back to the station and say, tear your equipment apart, sit there for 2 hours, wash it, get it dried, hang it up, do it, and put it back together. Ain't never going to happen. You can tell them, wash your gear. Not going to do it. We need somebody to do it for them. So what we did was, I went to the local laundromat here in the city, and I asked the person, I said, would you be interested? We'll buy the extractor, we'll buy the machines, everything, we'll supply the soap and all that. Well, it turns around, after probably a month of negotiating, him and I going back and forth, I was able to buy the machines. He furnished the water, soap, everything, as long as he was permitted to use the machines for some of the other stuff that he did, because they were self-cleaning machines. It wasn't like stuff that were sitting there. So he was using it for somebody that worked on, what do I want to say, like oil fields or something like that. He had a contract with somebody to wash these suits, and they were a little bit heavier than the regular his washers would do. So, and the biggest thing he told me, he said, these machines have to be used. They just can't sit around. The more you use them, the longer they'll last. So that's what he was doing. And it worked perfectly. And it was nice to go back to the meeting and basically stick my tongue out to the guy and say, see, I got it. You said I didn't care. I do care. Now we got this. And he apologized for what we made ends, but there was that time that we didn't talk until after this came about, and he really understood that I was just trying to change things, and he got on board.
Bringing us all back together, you've done a lot of programs. I mean, everything from, the cancer prevention, just getting men, your men and women, your members in PPE. You're talking about command staff, getting everybody on the same page. I know that our listeners, some of them are nodding their head and going, gosh, yep, that sounds like me. Whether they're a chief or, you did this probably as a firefighter, you saw a lot of these things coming up through the ranks. What would you tell that person that's still that has that initiative to make change, but maybe isn't up to that point yet? What would you tell that person? Then what advice do you have for that new chief that's now you're here. Now it's time to put that that to action.
Right. The biggest thing is that I learned from the get-go is getting the right people surrounding you. That's what you need. In order to get things moved, you need a backing. And that backing is really good people. And I have older firemen, I have young firemen, a mix of it, because I want that person or persons that's been here a while. Longer than me, I have guys that probably have 50 plus years that are on my staff. So they know they've been here and they wanted to see what the transition, because the first thing about my transition here is everybody was waiting to see if I failed. That was after Hutch leaves, we'll see what happens. This guy going to come in and he thinks he's going to change the world. He ain't going to do shit. And that's what's good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but he's not going to do anything. And he's not going to change anything. We're going to be the way we were. It's not going to happen. Well, I surprised everybody. It did happen. But to tell somebody that where my position was is, keep trying. Don't give up. I mean, you're going to fight. And there's a lot of times that I got heated battles. We've had our first probably 4 months in, we have a board of control and we have a relief association. For those first 4 months, all we did was argue, because we wanted to take things and get to, and it cost money to make change, of course. And we wanted to do it, and they didn't want to hear about it. It was just all about, oh, you just want to spend money. You just want to spend money. No, we don't want to just spend. We want to make a change. We want to make things better for the Greensburg Fire Department. And that was a tough thing to do. And that's, telling people is you just got to surround yourself with the right people. Once you do that and you get the right people in position, you can accomplish anything. That's what I strongly feel. You can accomplish anything as long as you have the right people and the right thing. Yeah, you're going to piss a lot of people off. And there was. I mean, there was people, like I told you, with the buying the washer. That was the hardest thing is, and I didn't want to, some of these people I've known since I was a kid. I've looked up to them, and now I'm in charge. I'm the guy that the little kid running around the fire hall, washing the fire truck and stuff. And these guys are firemen, hey, and then now I'm telling them, hey, look, I'm the chief here. You're not. It was kind of weird. It's kind of weird when you do that. But
you do that. You're doing that in a humble manner. I mean, I think it sounds like one of the when you admitted your fault, right? Let's go back to that point a little bit. When you were there, you're like, hey guys, I messed this up. This isn't. I preached this and I didn't do it. Do you think that was kind of a turning point too, when you're like, hey, people are starting to rally behind you? Like you talked about having your team, but then you got to get buy-in from the rest of the organization, right?
Right. Yeah. And that was a lot. And by early on, I think everybody started to see that, I wasn't doing it for Tom Bell. I wasn't doing it to make a name for myself. I was doing it to better the department. And I still that today. And I tell everybody, with the award and everything too, is the same thing. It's not about Tom Bell. I did these things, but you know what? And I expressed that I couldn't have done this if they wouldn't have accepted it. This change in this department is not only just Tom Bell, it's the membership taking and accepting what I was doing. Because if they don't accept it, they could have turned against me and told me to go pound salt, and we could have fell apart and I'd have been on my head, But different. I don't know. Maybe it's my charm, my good looks. I don't know. It just, everybody per se. So I think they were craving a change. That's the biggest thing. I think everybody was looking at, but they didn't know who was going to pull the triggers and actually do it. I like I said, before, there was a lot of people that were waiting to see if I fell flat on my face, but it didn't. I swore I wasn't going to. And you can talk to my wife. My wife is the number one person in my life that's been through all this crap with me with the fire department. I changed jobs twice. I was a golf course superintendent for 20 years. I came on to the public works thing. When I was at the golf course, when I was an hourly employee, I went to the public works for 5-6 years and then went back, became the golf course superintendent. And my wife has been with me ever since, in every step of the way. She's the one that's behind all of this, believe me, because I couldn't have really put all the effort that I had and been able to do what I do without, the backing of her. She sit and listen to me at night, moan and complain, and sit and cried on her shoulder about things that I couldn't do this and I don't know how I'm going to change this. I was scared as hell when I took over as fire chief, because you go from every day just worrying about your family and everything to worrying about now 250, 300 family members. Yeah, it was a scary thing, but it's worked out well, and everything's worked out pretty good. And but again, going back to what your question you asked me, if I told anybody, is just keep going and do it. Don't be afraid to make change. It's going to be fought a little bit. Surround yourself with the right people and keep pushing forward, because eventually, as long as you are the type of person that can keep going and going and going, and have the support, you'll make the changes and you'll succeed. There's no doubt about it. I feel strongly, if you do what you set your mind to, you will succeed.
Well, Chief, one of the changes I want to ask you about that you implemented was the duty crews. Can you tell us a little bit about that program and how members responded?
Okay, well, it all coincides with the OIC. We first started out as duty chief. There's two programs we initiated. Duty chief was, somebody mentioned to me, boy, you ought to get somebody to be on shift at night so you don't have to do everything. And I said, well, that's a great idea. So what I came up with, we're going to do a duty chief swing night. And first we started out as a week at a time, one person, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day. Okay, 1 week at a time. Then the next time it would be the second one. So we'd go C1, which is my call number, C2, C3, C4, up to C9. So there's 9 weeks that would be taken care of. Well, one of my chiefs says to me, you know what, that's too long. Christ, I don't want to have to take a week. How about if we just do every night? We change it up. So, well, if we do that, we're going to have to initiate some more. And I thought to myself, thinking about it, okay, well, you know what? This is a good way to get some of the captains involved and start to give them a little bit of responsibility. So what we did was, every night we have somebody on duty. 6 p.m., you'll hear on our radio, C1 to dispatch, I'll have the overnight, what's on the board, and they'll tell them whether there's water breaks or whether there's trucks out of service or whether somebody's out on a detail or something. Okay, have a good night, blah, blah, blah. And from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., they are to respond to anything in the city. Now, when we have the out-of-town calls and stuff, the other guys step up and go with the engines that go out of town, because we do service a lot of out-of-town, assists in Hempfield Township. There might be 2 companies that go out of town, and then if there's a working fire out of town, a few of us get together, we talk to each other on the telephone and say, making sure we have standbys, making sure people are awake. So if something happens in the city, because we're a couple companies short, so we know that things go down, we'll have the availability of the people and everything. Then we thought, well, what if we initiate a crew at night? Let's try maybe just a weekend shift. So we did that. I put it out there, and everybody's, well, let's see. Well, okay. So what I initiated was a driver and a masked man. Okay. They had to have a driver and a masked man. Just started out, that's it. So I thought to myself, well, driver, masked man, hopefully we'll get more. Somebody says, hey, I'm going to stay at the fire hall tonight. Maybe there might be 4 or 5 guys. And boy, I hit it right on the head. The other thing was the kids. The kids, they go from Friday night and Saturday night. We have a company on Friday night. We have a company on Saturday night. So the kids, you go to one of the fire halls, there might be 10, 15 people there. Somebody from the other companies, they come over, they have a cookout. They'll get together there, or they'll watch a movie. They play cornhole in the parking lot or in the bay. They pull the trucks out. I'll go over there and there'll be 4, 5, 6 firemen. And that was the key, getting the guys to hang out there. They stay there. They don't sleep. They hang out at the fire hall all night, playing around, watching movies, goofing off, just having a good time like we did when we were growing up as junior firemen, because back then there was 4 or 5 guys standing at the fire hall all the time. And the key was getting those kids. They love it, because now every time the alarm, they get on the truck, they go for, to the alarm. They were loving it. So that was I was killing two birds with one stone. I was getting the guys involved and yet keeping the juniors involved because they know every weekend now that you go to the fire hall, hang out, whatever, and two birds with one stone. So it was a great thing. And I was offering a stipend, giving them their food, clothing wear, shirts, things like that. And it was good enough. And I was starting to attract the older guys back. My brother, he's, almost 60 years old, and he was a driver forever. That's when I was at the fire hall, he was our driver. And got him back to driving again, and now he loves it. He's waiting for a bunker suit. We got him a bunker suit, and he's got a helmet. He's just enjoying life now. And then that person comes back, and then another company, I got this other older gentleman back, and that's the key. It started to work. It started to click. So every Friday and Saturday, you can find one of our companies are manned Fridays and Saturdays. Trying to push it out during the week, it's a little tough. But I'm still open for it. We're still going to try it sooner or later. And it works because, just a real quick one, we had a fire behind one of the fire halls up in the 7th District. Male trapped inside the building. One of our firemen came upon this fire, and our first two engines, because one was on the duty and the other one just was there because they knew that somebody else was at the fire, both engines arrived within 3 minutes of the alarm, saved the guy's life. Pulled them out, got it, so it worked. So that's the one thing I can chalk up and say it actually worked, having them on duty crew.
That's a great recruitment tool too, right? Anybody interested in the fire department, hey, we just stop by on Friday night or Saturday, we'll introduce you to some of the members, and so it's really killing, three with one, right? It's a three for there with, bringing the older members back in, integrating with new. Your response time's better, camaraderie better, and you got a recruitment tool. With that, Chief, what's next for the fire department? What's next on your agenda, and what's next kind of project you're really passionate about?
Our biggest thing is, we've topped on our bunker suits and personnel and decon and everything. I think now what we're trying to do is our equipment wise, SCBAs, gloves, helmets, things like that. The trucks themselves, we've really not hit on like cleaning the interiors of the trucks and how we can maneuver that. We did get the air purifiers in the trucks. They run all the time. That's when COVID, they came out with these and we put them in our trucks and stuff. But now I want to start to concentrate on equipment. We bought solo washers. Each one of our stations by the end of this year will each have a solo washer. That's one of those ones that actually look like a big dishwasher that you'll now be able to clean all the masks and stuff. And we just got a grant that we were able to buy 3 more. We had the first 3 in our stations that were in the United States, and now we're going to have 6 of them within our stations by the end of the year. So that's the next thing that I hope by the end of this year, beginning of next year, we'll have a really good plan in place and add it to our SOGs that state that this is how we'll do it. We'll keep our equipment clean and just keep moving forward with making sure these guys are safe. And my motto is that everyone goes home.
Mm-hmm. And and everyone goes home healthy, right?
Yeah.
That's the cancer initiative is taking it that step further and taking that prevention. Excellent stuff, Chief. I think now, hopefully, after people listen, they understand why you are deserving of that award. But you're not done yet. We still got a couple questions for you. We do what's called a hot seat, where we just ask a little bit more about you, dig into what you like, maybe what you don't like, some funny stories, get a little bit more out of you. These are just quick hitters. No need to be nervous, which I don't think we could get you nervous. But these are some that Janelle and I go, hey, let's ask them this one. Or, our moms, my mom likes to ask some questions. Well, ask one of your guests this. And some of our guests are like, hey, make sure you ask your next guest this. So Janelle's going to lead them off. We got them for you here.
Okay.
All right, Chief. Football's back. Eagles or Steelers, or as my husband calls them, Stillis.
Well, the bad part about it is I don't care for either. But if I was going to pick one, Steelers, no doubt.
What's your team?
Team as far as football?
Yeah.
None. I don't watch. I'm not interested in football. Doesn't interest me at all. I know it's kind of weird, but yeah, I'm not a sports fanatic. Golf now. There you go. That's
okay.
All right. All right. Let's go with that. Favorite golfer.
Favorite golfer?
Yeah.
Tiger Woods. I know. Oh yeah, but Tiger Woods made what the golf world is today. There is no doubt about it. There'll never be another. There will never be another Hutch. There'll never be another Woods.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I forgot. That's right. Golf course superintendent.
Yep.
Were you ever asked to kill golfers?
No, skunks and groundhogs. We don't have gophers, but groundhogs was a problem because they dig so many holes. The tractors would wind up breaking things and everything. So we'd have to do a little bit of groundhog hunting. But skunks were another one. They would go after the grubs at night on the golf course, would rip them up. They'd tear up the turf and they'd lay it back, and then I'd have to send guys to lay it all back down, tamp it down the next day. Then they'd come back the night and tear it back up like a carpet.
Oh my God.
And so because the grubs would eat the roots and just let the grass lay there, you could pick it up like a piece of carpeting. So that was the two that we'd go after.
See, we're educating not only about the fire service, a little bit about the golf, golf service as well. So going back to a hot seat question here, what was the biggest prank that was that they kind of played on you when you were a junior firefighter?
You know what? Some reason I knew you were going to ask something. So I grew up in the Ludwig section of town at the number 6 fire hall. Across the street, we had a heliport, okay, where there was a Air Rescue East helicopter, medical helicopter. So the guy said to me one night, they said, hey, guys, you know what? We ran out of prop wash. Can you run over to the heliport and ask them to get you a couple of gallon of prop wash and bring it back? Okay, didn't know. Walk in, knock on the door. Hey, how's it going? Hey, I'm Tom Bell. Over at the fire hall. We're doing some mushing of the truck and stuff, and we need some couple of gallons of prop wash. They started laughing. I'm thinking to myself, what? What's so funny? And he said, do you know what a prop is? And I'm like, no. I said, it's out on the helicopter. That's what you've been pranked. I'm like, goodness. So I went back empty-handed, no prop wash.
No prop wash.
That's almost asking for turn signal fluid too.
Yeah. Blinker fluid, we like to call it up here. Yep.
Prop wash.
All right, Chief. When you're driving around, what's rocking in your car? Do you have a favorite song or musician?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Guns N' Roses. I was a Guns N' Roses fan. I Illusion 1, Illusion 2, waited for that and waited till it came out. Remember that they were just clowning around where they wouldn't get the Illusion 1, Illusion 2 out. I waited forever, and when it came out, I was so excited to get that 2-disc CD kit, it's perfect. But yeah, you'll hear Guns N' Roses and any hard rock, Zeppelin, Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent was awesome. I'm the old school. I like a little bit of Chicago too and stuff, but GNR all the way.
Oh,
that surprised me a little bit. I think people are gonna the ratings went up a little bit with that. That's good. And now that we got their attention, one final question, and this one's more a little bit more personal. What are you doing personally to get better every shift?
What do I do? I work out every day at our gym. We have our own gym here it's called the Aerobic Center. Again, Hutch started that way back in the day, and I try to do initiative for all my guys. We do a biking program. I love to spin. I spin every Wednesday at the gym, for an hour. I just try to keep myself in shape. See my cardiologist every year. I get a physical. That's another initiative we do. Our health fair is coming up here shortly, where all the firemen get their blood drawn and do flu shots and all that stuff. But just try to keep myself so I'm around. I really want to keep with my wife. I want to spend many years with her, and I want to spend many years keeping go like. My second in command, he's going to be 70 years old, and he looks like he's 25 years old. That's what I want to be. When I'm getting 70 years old, I still want to look as good as I do now.
So, Chief, perfect kind of ending to this about getting better, working on your fitness. Recapping some of the things you said. Don't be afraid to make change. Have a great support network. Communicate. Be yourself. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. All excellent stuff. Congratulations on the award. Very deserving of that. And we look forward to, many more things from you and your department, not to put the pressure on you or anything, but I have no doubt that will continue to happen. For those of you that have listened to this podcast, you can also watch it on the FR1 YouTube channel. You can email us with any questions and or feedback at bettereveryshift@firerescue1.com. Please rate and review the show. Again, per Chief Thomas Bell, be yourself, communicate, don't be afraid to make change. But most importantly, learn something, do something, and share something to make you and those around you better every shift. Thanks for listening, everybody.